Hey guys, welcome to this captivating lecture. In this lecture, we will create the functionality to register new user. To do this, we have to go back to our editor, and within the controllers folder, we have to create a file, and we can call this file auth underscore controller, and then the extension will be dot. And what we need to do first is to create a class, and we can call this class auth controller. And the next step is to create a function. And the purpose of this function is to register new user. Now, this function is going to take some time to execute, meaning it is going to take some time for the user to be created. So what we can do is we can specify the behavior of the function, and it will be future. Now, the reason we are also specifying that the behavior of the function will be of type future is because while the function is being executed or while the user is being created, we want to entertain the created user with something like showing the user a loading spinner, which will translate in telling them that their account is being created. Okay, and also the function will return an output, and the output will be a test. So we can go ahead and specify the future will also be of type string, and then we can go ahead and create the function. We can call this function register new user. Okay, user, and add this over here. And within the parentheses of the function, we have to pass in all the fields we want to create the user with. Now, the first field will be the email address. And also, we can specify the expected value of what this variable will be. And the expected value is a test, meaning it will be of data type string. And also, we need the full name, and the test, it will be a test, and data type string, and last string, and password. Okay, now within the function we will be using the await, and in order to use the await we have to use the async within it. And what we need to do next is to create a variable to store the possible error. We can say string because the variable is expected to store a test value. And for short, instead of result, we can call this res. And default, the error will be equal to something went wrong. Okay, and next we have to create a try and a catch block to try and catch any error. Now go to this for auto completion, and within the try we sorry within the try we want to create the user in the authentication tab, and then later in Firestore. Okay, great. Now to create the user, we had earlier installed a package known as Firebase Auth. So what we can do is we can create a variable to store that. So over here, we can say finder, and then we can specify the type of variable we are about to create. It will be of type Firebase Auth. Firebase Auth, and we can call this underscore auth, and it will be equal to Firebase auth. Then we have to initialize it by saying dot instance. Okay, great. And since it will take some time in order to create the user in Firebase, we have to say await in order to await for the process to finish. So we can say await. I think I'm missing something. Oh, I'm not. Okay, Firebase, cache must follow. I'm just going to undo this, undo. Okay, great. And over here, Finer and Firebase Ort underscore Ort is equal to Firebase Ort then dot instance. Okay, and within the try block, we can say we want to create the user first in the authentication tab and then in the cloud fire store. Okay, great. And to create the user in the authentication tab, it will take some time. So we can go ahead and tell Flutter we are ready to wait for the process to finish. And in order to do this, we have to use something known as await. And in order to use the await, we have to use the async over here. And this is the reason we are using the async over here. So we can say await. Now within the Firebase auth, there is a method known as create user with email and password. The full name is just extra information we need about the user, but basically the user will be created only with their email and their password. Okay? And what we want to do next is if the user have been successfully created, then we want to update this result variable to say success. So next we can say res is equal to success. Great. And remember, basically, the output of this function will be a test. And this test can either be something went wrong or success. So what we have to do next is to return the res. And it will be of type test. So that was why we said it is of data type string because the output of this function is a test value. And what we need to do next is to make use of this class in order to access this function. To do this, we have to go back to the register screen. But before then, remember over here, we basically pass in some variables which have no value. But basically, whenever we refer to this function, we then have to pass in the actual value to all these fields, which will be from the input of the user. So back to the register screen. And what we can do is we can create a variable to store the auth controller class. We can say finer, and the variable we are about to create will be of type auth controller, and we can call this underscore auth controller, and it will be equal to auth controller. And then we can easily access the register new user function. So back to this, and we can scroll down and we can say if the form is valid, then underscore auth controller and register new user with, okay, sorry, register new user. Okay, you can see the value has been passed already. And let's go ahead and try this out. First, we can give this a hot restart. And let's go ahead and create a user and go to the sign up screen. And the email address is going to be marktest@gmail.com. And the full name will be marktest. And the password will be BEEJAYMAC. And click on sign up and we can go to our terminal and the debug console to check, okay, no errors. And let's go to this and go to this to see the newly created user. And great, mark test, and the provider is the email and created art this 25 December 2023 and sign in this and the user UID is this. Okay, Now, if you check, there is one more field that is missing, which is the full name, right? Now, basically, the Authentication tab only supports creating the user using the email and password. But in the future or in the next lecture, we will be able to grab some more information about the user, such as the full name. And also in the future, while the account is being created, we can entertain the user by showing a loading spinner, which will translate in telling the user that their account is being created.